give Daddy the Rain Man suite. Do you dig that? We're going to Vegas, Mike.
Vegas! You think we get there by midnight?
Money, we're gonna be up 500 by midnight.
Vegas!
Vegas, baby, Vegas!
We are the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Fat Jack Ross, FatJackSports.com, handicapper to the stars, joins us on the show.
When the lights are about to be turned off, you know what you need. Because you gotta somehow make that paper, right?
Show me the money!
You come to the right place for that. Because it's time for Bo Bounds to
Show me the money!
show you the...
Fat Jack Ross, good morning. Welcome in, my friend. How are you?
Good morning. Doing great. Ready for the weekend. 5-1 again last Saturday. So excited about that. We won last night. Had under the total last night as well. So great start to the weekend. Great weekend last week. Wrapping up a really nice October. We did have a losing week in October, which was our first losing week of the football season. All the plays posted and documented at FatJackSports.com. Everybody gets the same plays. And as I said, another great Saturday. We only had 2 Saturdays all year, Bo, that were not 4-2 or better. We had 1-3-3, 1-2-4, but then every other one was 4-2, 5-1, or 6-0, including 5-1 last Saturday. So excited about this week. Feel like I'm dialed in. NFL, different animal for the sports bettors. I went 2-2, which is not horrible, especially because we won last night. But last week was the most public week of the entire year. So if you won last week, congratulations. You just know who the better teams are. Handicapping was not a prerequisite to win on Sunday. The favorites were 11-2 against the spread. So they not only won straight up, so all those teasers and all those money line parlays and all of those, the favorites went 11-2. That's only there's been 2 weeks this year where it's been predominantly favorites, not only covering but winning, but not only winning but covering. And the last 2 weeks were those weeks. So if you're an average guy and you had lost all of September, you're just looking at the better teams. You'd lost all September, but you've won the last 2 weeks. Congratulations, you were due. Don't expect that to continue, though. Normally, it's as many underdogs as favorites in the NFL. So tough sledding normally, but pretty good for the average guy who's just betting the favorite teams going at least last week. This week, probably a different story, though.
FatJackSports.com. Fat Jack Ross on ESPN 105.9 The Zone. All right, let's get to local, and then I'll go a little national. South Carolina at Ole Miss. Obviously, Ole Miss is better. South Carolina's kind of fallen apart. Ole Miss is laying 12.5, and the total is 55.5. Is there any juice here, Fat Jack?
Not a lot, honestly. A better play on the under, I think. We saw last week with what Ole Miss did to the Oklahoma offense. It had been, at least improving a little bit. And I think that game went over for the first time all year with the Sooners, but it was because of what Ole Miss was doing. And I do think their defense is improving a little bit. South Carolina, a little bit predictable on offense. And so I would play Ole Miss under the total. That's a lot of points, especially, Lane Kiffin, he knows the lines. He cares about the lines a little bit. But the later we get in the season, the less that matters. And so once you get over double digits, that's a beatdown in the SEC. Probably will happen, but I think there's an easier play on the under. I'm not sure South Carolina is going to have a ton of offensive success. So I'd go ahead and play the under. That's the best play of the game.
All right, you may be staying away from this, but I want to get just your thoughts on the game. Vanderbilt, I can't believe I'm saying this, 7-1 at Texas, 6-2. I was at that game last weekend, Mississippi State, Texas, where MSU just totally melted down. Vandy at Texas. Texas laying 3.5. Totals around 46.5. Anything here, Fat Jack?
Yeah, so Bo, this is that game that every week we have one or two of these, and lately it's been about 50-50, but normally what you'll get is a head-scratcher line like this. You're like, what's going on here? I watched the TV last week. I saw what happened at Mississippi State. I saw Vanderbilt, handle Missouri. Why is this line? Most of the time, the odd team that's favored is going to win this game. And I think that applies here to both. I talked to a couple line setters, got some good information this week, and one of them was if there had been a look-ahead line with this game in August with the sports books, they would have made Texas a 21-point favorite.
Whoa!
That's the preseason look ahead line. So what's going on here? Does Texas, their athletes stink now all of a sudden? Was everybody that wrong with what we were looking at in the summer? Probably somewhere in the middle. Okay, so what we do as gamblers, we look at, or sports fans, we look, well, what happened yesterday? What happened last week? What's happened this year? Which all does matter, but you're not factoring in the line when you're looking at just that. So you're getting some value with Texas here. And that's why, and I don't care if Arch Manning plays or not. Arch Manning's just been okay. And they've been doing whatever they've been doing, with some wins, some losses. They've been doing it with just mediocre quarterback play, which they'll probably get with the backup anyway. Vanderbilt due for a little regression. Texas defense at home, especially in offense, really athletic. They fly to the ball. I think they'll give that Vandy offense some problems. I think there's a reason why Texas is favored. They're the right side of the game. I'll go ahead and play the points, lay the points, play the Longhorns.
Okay. All right, what would you do in the cocktail party, or would you run from it? Georgia, Florida. Florida fired their coach, Billy Gonzalez, interim, Now, Georgia's only laying 7.5. It's 50.5 total. What do you make of the cocktail party, Fat Jack?
Another one of those, and why is it only 7.5? I mean, what are we looking at here? Well, a couple of things. Georgia does not cover lines on a consistent basis. They play games closer than they should, especially when they're not at home. And you do get that interim coach circle the wagon situation here out of a Florida team that at times this year has looked decent. I mean, they haven't been horrible all year. They've had bad quarterback play most of the year. They've turned the ball over some. But I can see a world where this game – I don't see a world where Florida wins, but I could see a world where this game's a lot closer than the line would. And again, what we've seen over the last week, couple weeks, you're looking for value as we head into November. Why is the number what it is, and why is it wrong, and why is it off? And so normally when you see games like this that are head scratchers, you're going to want to lead toward the underdog. Not one of the easier spots, because if Florida turns the ball over against the Georgia defense, they're not going to win. They're not going to cover. It won't be close. But if they play a little more mistake-free, which they have at times this year, against Texas for one, then they can keep this game close. So be a little bit careful if you're just thinking about playing the better teams this week. I'd lean toward Florida plus the points in that one.
Okay, I've got to ask you about this one. It's the Somebody's Got to Win Bowl. Mississippi State at Arkansas, both are winless in the league. Arkansas's laying 4.5. How about the total, Fat Jack? 65.5.
Yeah, there's a few of these totals this week that are in the mid to upper 60s, and you're going to see that as we go forward when the gamblers have figured out that defenses are just not any good. It's really hard to fix a defense. If they're consistently bad, it's hard to fix it. And that's been, really both these teams' problems is inconsistency, blowing assignments. Arkansas at home, they covered against Texas A&M kind of on a backdoor cover. They have shown some ability to score or execute on offense. And so I'd lean toward the Razorbacks there. But problem with that, Bo, is if you bet that game, you got to watch it. And I'm not sure, I'm sure a lot of people that are not Mississippi State fans are going to want to sit around for 3.5 hours sweating out trying to see how many mistakes the team makes. So I think there's a few better spots on the board. Well, I think Texas Tech rebounds Saturday. I think they're, they get the quarterback back. They had their first loss of the year, but when they have their starting quarterback, they're not only 7-0, they're 7-0 against the number. I think that Kansas State coming off a huge win against Kansas, but it's had a really down season other than that. It's a bad spot. Similar to when Texas Tech went to Utah, I think Kansas State at their best is about like Utah. And Texas Tech's the best team in the Big 12, if you ask me, if and when they're healthy. I go ahead and lay the points and play Tech rather than watching 3.5 hours of Suey, Piggy, and Mississippi State making mistakes.
Oh, God. All right, any other value out, any other game that you and your team have circled at the college game, or we can go to the NFL, whatever you want to do?
Yeah, well, just one more. Actually, two more. I think the OU-Tennessee game will be more like what we've seen out of Oklahoma this year with less offense, conservative game plan, under the total type game. Tennessee does give up a bunch of points to most of the SEC to the pass, almost 300 yards a game, but John Mateer has not been the same Mateer since his surgery. I think this is a play defense, win time of possession, keep the other offense on the sidelines. Let's go under the total there. And the other team in and around Oklahoma that's just the saddest place in the world, Bo, is Stillwater, Oklahoma. This is bad football, bad basketball. Cow tipping season's over. This is a sad area in the middle of the country. They're going to Kansas that's really upset about what happened last week and is really pretty good offensively. Oklahoma State not good on either side of the ball. I go ahead and lay the big number and play against a few of these teams that just have very little to nothing to play for. That circle the wagons after Mike Gundy was fired only lasted a game for them. Since then, they have been non-competitive, only 1-12 against the spread their last 13. Go ahead and lay the points, play the Jayhawks.
All right, what's going on at fatjacksports.com this weekend?
$99 weekend gets you all the football through Monday. Everybody gets the same plays. Doesn't matter if you play $50 a game or $50,000 a game. You're getting them emailed to you. They're on a personal portal that you have a PIN and password to. Everybody gets the same plays, and you get a recommended betting guide to tell you exactly what to do with them. We're 4-1 in the World Series. Play going in that tonight. Soccer won last week. UFC won again last week. NFL player props won again last week. Getting consistent winning selections is how you build profit betting on games, Bo.
fatjacksports.com. Do you want to take a minute to hit an NFL game? Or?
Sure, let's do it. Listen, last week was John Q. Public. Really easy for the public. Just ask your wife or girlfriend who's going to win. That works. Right? You go, who's the better team? I'll take them. Sign me up. Let's parlay and put 5 teams. All works. I mean, unless you're betting against the Jets or Cincinnati. Everybody else favorites won and covered. So it's going to be a little bit tougher week this week.
Okay. fatjacksports.com, $99. They're on fire with the World Series. They crushed it with college football last weekend and held in there on a weird, wild NFL weekend. fatjacksports.com. Have a great weekend, my man. Appreciate you.
All right, but yeah, Kansas City and Houston are the two I give you. Let's get some free winners out there to people in the NFL as well. Have a great week, boss. See you soon.
Love it. Thanks, Fat Jack Ross. fatjacksports.com. We are the Out of Bounds Show. You can make picks and win money right now in Mississippi. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like points, rebounds, steals, and more. Get your picks right, and you could win up to 5,000 times your cash. This week on Underdog, I'm looking at Blue Jays Dodgers and selecting Vladimir Guerrero Jr. for lower than 8.5 fantasy points, and Shohei Ohtani for lower than 10.5 fantasy points. Download the app today and use promo code OUTOFBOUNDS to score $100 in bonus entries when you play your first $5. That's promo code OUTOFBOUNDS. Underdog. Make picks, win money.
Must be 18 and older in present Mississippi. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org.